Hi, boys and girls, it's Miss Amy, and I'm here to read Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach with you. Today we're going to read chapter 21 and chapter 22. Let's see, yesterday when we left in chapter 20, James and all his creature friends were trying to figure out what they were going to do because there was sharks all around the peach, and they were afraid they were going to eat them. So then they had this brilliant idea to use earthworm, who obviously was not okay with this, but as bait for the seagulls that were flying ahead, and they were going to tie a string around the seagulls' necks. And they were going to have the seagulls fly up and carry the peach away. I wonder if that's going to work, boys and girls. What do you think? Guess we'll have to go into chapter 21 and see what happens. Remember, boys and girls, Miss Amy does not own the rights to this book. She just owns the book, and she's glad she gets to share it with you. All right, here we go, boys and girls. Why is it absolutely brilliant? Let me rephrase that. Why? It's absolutely brilliant. Made it sound like a question the first time. Cried the old green grasshopper when James had explained his plan. This boy's a genius, the centipede announced. Now I can keep my boots on after all. Oh, I shall be pecked to death, wailed the poor earthworm. Of course you won't. I will. I know I will. And I won't even be able to see that coming at me because I have no eyes. James went over and put an arm gently around the earthworm's shoulders. I won't let them touch you, he said. I promise. I won't. But we've got to hurry. Look down there. There's lots of sharks down there, boys and girls. There were more sharks than ever now around the peach. The water was boiling with them. There must have been 90 or 100 at least. And to the travelers up on top, it certainly seemed as though the peach were sinking lower and lower into the water. Remember, boys and girls, the sharks were biting the peach, biting and biting it. So, when you bite things, it can create holes. And if you get holes in something you're floating on water, it can sink. Let's see. Action stations, James shouted. Jump to it. There's not a moment to lose. He was the captain now, and everyone knew it. They would do whatever he told them. All hands below deck except Earthworm, he ordered. Yes, yes, they said eagerly as they settled into the tunnel entrance. Come on, let's hurry. And you, Centipede, James shouted, hop downstairs and get that silkworm to work at once. Tell her to spin as she's never spun before. Our lives depend upon it. And the same applies to you, Miss Spider. Hurry on down and start spinning. Here's James with his arm around Earthworm and Centipede standing next to them. See all the seagulls up in the sky? All right, now chapter 22. In a few minutes, everything was ready. It was very quiet now on top of the peach. There was nobody in sight. Nobody except Earthworm. One half of the earthworm, looking like a great, thick, juicy pink sausage, lay innocently in the sun for all the seagulls to see. The other half of him was dangling down the tunnel. James was crouching close beside the earthworm in the tunnel entrance, just below the surface, waiting for the first seagull. He had a loop of silk string in his hand. hands. James must have always like, huh? The earthworm doesn't have hands? Okay, back to it. The old green grasshopper and the ladybug were further down the tunnel, holding on to the earthworm's tail, ready to pull him quickly in out of danger as soon as James gave the word. And far below, in the great hollow stone of the peach, the glowworm was lighting up the room so that the two spinners, the silkworm and Miss Spider, could see what they were doing. The centipede was down there too, exhorting them both frantically to greater efforts. And easy now, and again James could hear his voice coming up faintly from the depths, shouting, "Spin, silkworm, spin! You great, fat, lazy brute! Faster! Faster, or we'll throw you to the sharks!" "Here comes the first seagull," whispered James. "Keep still now, earthworm. Keep still. The rest of you get ready to pull." "Please don't let it spike me," begged the earthworm. I won't. Shh." Out of the corner of one eye, James watched the seagull as it came, swooping down toward the earthworm. And then suddenly it was so close that he could see its small black eyes and its curved beak. And the beak was open, ready to grab a nice piece of flesh out of the earthworm's back. "Pull!" shouted James. The old green grasshopper and the ladybug gave the earthworm tail an enormous tongue, and like magic, the earthworm disappeared into the tunnel. At the same time, up went James's hand, and the seagull flew right into the loop of silk that he was holding out. The loop, which had been cleverly made, tightened just the right amount, but not too much, around its neck, and the seagull was captured. "Hooray!" shouted the old green grasshopper, peering out of the tunnel. "Well done, James!" Up flew the seagull, with James paying out the silk string as it went. He gave it about 50 yards and then tied the string to the stem of the peach. "Next one!" he shouted, jumping back into the tunnel. "Up, out again, earthworm! Bring up some more silk, centipede." "Oh, I don't like this at all," wailed the earthworm. "It only just missed me. I even felt the wind on my back as it went swishing past." "Shh," whispered James. "Keep still. Here comes another one." So they did it again, and again, and again, and the seagulls kept coming, and James caught them, one after the other, and tethered them to the peach stem. "100 seagulls," he shouted, wiping the sweat off his face. "Keep going," they cried. "Keep going, James." 200 seagulls, 300 seagulls, 400 seagulls. The sharks, as though sensing they were in danger of losing their prey, were hurling themselves at the peach more furiously than ever, and the peach was sinking lower and lower still in the water. 500 seagulls, James shouted. "Silkworm says she's running out of silk," yelled the centipede from below. "She says she can't keep it up much longer, nor can Miss Spider." "Tell them they've got to," James answered. "They can't stop now." "We're lifting," somebody shouted. "No, we're not. I felt it. Put on another seagull, quick." "Quiet, everybody, quiet. Here's one coming now." This was 501st seagull, and the moment that James caught it tethered it to the stem with all the others, the whole enormous peach suddenly started rising up slowly out of the water. "Look out! Here we go! Hold on, boys!" "There's some ladies on that there peach too, buddy." And then it stopped, and there it hung. It hovered and swayed, but it went no higher. The bottom of it was touching the water. It was like a delicately balanced scale that needed only the tiniest push to tip it one way or the other. "One more will do it," shouted the old green grasshopper, looking out of the tunnel. "We're almost there." And now came the big moment. Quickly, the 502nd seagull was caught and harnessed to the peach stem, and then suddenly, but slowly, majestically, that means kind of magically, kind of ooh-high, like some fabulous golden balloon, with all the seagulls straining at the strings above, the giant peach rose up, dripping out of the water, and began climbing towards the heavens. And that, boys and girls, ends chapter 21. Oh, so much is happening. Look at, they didn't give up hope and they kept trying. I love that they didn't become hopeless. That's wonderful, don't you think, boys and girls? So I look forward to reading chapter 23 of Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach with you tomorrow. And remember, boys and girls, don't give up hope and keep trying. They just kept their imaginations going and going until they figured out a plan. And now look, and they remained hopeful. They didn't let Earthworm bring them down. And they even built him up and made him courageous. Can you imagine if you did that in some of the things in your life, boys and girls? Now, boys and girls, if you're watching this and you're not going to bed yet and mom and dad say it's okay, make sure you look outside tonight for the meteor. Today is May the 4th. That's right. May the 4th be with you. Anyways, if you're listening to this, make sure you go outside and see if you could see the meteors. There's supposed to be a meteor shower today. Woo! That would be awesome. Sure hope no meteors fall on James and all his creatures flying up in the heavens with those seagulls. Well, boys and girls, I've enjoyed reading to you. And if you're watching this before bedtime, good night and sleep tight.